Oh, there we go. We're broadcasting. Okay.
All right.
Hey, Keaton, go for it.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful for this chance we have to meet as a group and to be able to discuss the different aspects of this class and this group study. And we pray, Father, that thy Spirit will be with us to lead this group and help us to understand what we need to be doing and help us to be able to focus on thee at all times. Father, we love thee and we're grateful for thee. And we say these things in the Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Thank you.
All right. All right. Thanks, Keaton. Okay, so today our discussion is about the What Google Learned case that we read about, and we're kind of basically go through the discussion questions. But if you have anything else that you want to bring up along the way, or any other just comments, please feel free to do that, so we can so we can all learn from each other.
All right.
So just to start out, the first question and the first thing that we need to talk about is, it says, from your personal experience, what have been key behaviors in effective teams?
So I guess I'll just kind of start out. Like, one thing I think is each person in the group, to be an effective group, has to have desire to actually accomplish whatever it is, whether it's like a study group or a team or whatever. Like, everybody's got to be motivated to get the work done. Like, you can't just write shirt or like coattails or anything like that. Everybody has to be actively participating, have the desire to stay focused and to get goals done.
For sure. No, I definitely agree with that. I know for me personally, with my job, I work with teams every day. It's just kind of what we do, and it's really helpful when each member of the team has a specific role with what we're doing. Each person has a specific thing that they're supposed to get done to make sure that we complete what we need to. And when the roles are defined, I feel that that's kind of a key behavior, I guess, that needs to be done, is that everyone needs to know their role, know what their purpose is in the group, and if each person knows that, everyone's able to contribute a bit better and move along the way. And it's also important to know what everyone else's purpose and role is in the group as well. That way you can all work together.
So if I hear you right, you're saying that everybody should have clear roles and expectations defined, so that when a confrontation or a problem arises, everybody can rely back to their roles and responsibilities, and if someone has overstepped or done something, it could be easily resolved. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I think that can definitely be a something that is beneficial of having a group setting like that. You got to be careful. It even said in the reading that there can be a problem when you have a bunch of people that all have a very specific specialty, and that everyone kind of doesn't listen to each other. So that's where you can go too far. But if each person has a role, knows what the other person's role is in the group, I do think that you're able to better know what you're doing. And like Keaton said, then you don't have people, not doing any work or writing tailcoats, because everyone has something that they have to get done. So I think that's helped me. And sometimes in college, with group work that we've had, it hasn't always been great, because sometimes we just have one assignment and you have 5 or 8 guys that are trying to work on it, and sometimes that's harder because not everyone has a defined role. So what I've seen is in college we have in groups where we have defined roles that we all need to take care of, it seems to go more smoothly than if we all have one thing that we need to do. So, yeah, I don't know, Jack, do you have any comments with that? Anything that you're thinking about?
Well, kind of going off of that, communication's what I thought of. I know that's probably the answer to everything, but honestly, I've worked on campus, had the same job for 3 years, and that's usually what every issue surrounds is communication, whether it's someone isn't understanding what's being expected, like we were talking about expectations, people and their responsibilities, or asking patron, hey, you need to follow these rules, and conveying that information in the right way. So I think the most effective part of a team, and I also thought as you were talking, communication is also the most effective key in a relationship, like between husband and wife. At least that's been my experience so far. So I think it's all related.
Yeah.
So there's
for sure, I appreciate that. I think you're right.
So there's a verbatim from the article that goes specifically into the behaviors. It talks about the two most important behaviors being equality and distribution of conversation turn-taking. And I think that could definitely be done more effectively with what you're talking about, making sure that you have a specific job. If you have a specific job, you're probably going to have to report on what your specific roles are, meaning you're going to have to take time to speak. And then it talks about the second important thing is having a high average social sensitivity. So it's kind of interesting because it talks about how like some groups might be super intelligent and super effective, just super smart, but they don't necessarily share personal experiences and they don't get along in a kind of a non-professional manner. And sometimes being able to share some of those personal things can actually create a better cohesive group, as long as you know where that deadline is. Where's that line you shouldn't cross so that you're still professional, you're still getting all the work done, but you're building a stronger group together.
For sure. No, I appreciate that. And that kind of leads into one of the other talking points, one of the other questions, and I think we can move on to this now, says, how does sharing personal experience and being vulnerable influence team dynamics? And then along with that, do any of you have any personal experiences of this in organizations that you were involved in? So again, I mean, how does sharing personal experiences and being vulnerable influence team dynamics? What do you guys think?
One of the things that this last year, we've had to make some really big changes in our company, and we've had to break down a lot of barriers. And one of the things that we've had to do is, we almost had to, by breaking down and showing your vulnerability, also shows humility. And with humility, people will start thinking you're approachable or teachable. And so when you have that, I feel that people will want to work with you instead of trying to work against that.
I think Joe's onto something right there. The other part of this deal, so that his name's Sakaguchi or however you say it. That's a team that they're going to be together probably for a while, working together, growing, and things like that. So I think what he shared was appropriate, talking about his life as they try to build a better team. I think if you were to take what he shared and put that into just like a class setting where you're a group for like just a couple of weeks, it might be a little bit too in depth. But on the flip side of that, what we were doing before we kind of started this phone call, we're talking to Joe, hey, how's Disneyland and stuff, and he's sharing about kind of what's going on with him, and other people are sharing what's going on in their life. Like, I think that's sociably a norm for a group, but I mean, with him, his group's on a totally different level, and so they probably want to know a little bit more deep knowledge than what probably the five of us would be on. And so I think, yeah, sharing personal experiences is good, but you have to kind of find a medium depending on like what group you're actually in.
It totally depends on the work you're doing and how long you're going to be working with people like that.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. I mean, I know me personally, I've had a few experiences, and one that was actually kind of eye-opening for me. One thing that was kind of funny, when I first started the job that I work at right now, I work as a project manager. And when I was first on, my solutions manager, basically the guy who's in charge of the project managers, he told me that, he said, we're paying you to organize, to take care of everything, to make sure that the project is completed on time and everything like that. And he said, but part of what you do and what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have a good relationship with all the people that you manage. He said, if you don't have a good relationship with them, then you're not going to get anything done on time. You're not going to get anything done right. So he always joked around and said, I pay you to work 8 hours a day, and for 2 of those hours a day, I'm okay if you're just talking to people. You're just getting to see how they're doing, how they're going. If you're seeing how all the teams are doing, because by doing that, all of a sudden we all feel more comfortable. We're willing to, admit our mistakes. I think it's made a big impact. I work with a lot of the same people for multiple projects, and when I have good relationships with them, like I have a few guys that I have great relationships with. So every time they call or I call, we always start off with about 5 minutes of just seeing how each other's doing. But then after that, he's more willing to, let me know of any problems that they're having. They're not afraid to tell me that they've done something wrong or they've made a mistake, because he knows I'm not going to chew him out. I'm just going to, we're going to work through and find a solution. And I think doing that has enabled us to be more successful, and it's enabled me to be able to manage everything better. And, if there's someone I'm working with who I don't know them at all, I don't know how many kids they have, I don't know anything like that, we just can't connect, and we aren't as effective together as a team. At least that's what I've seen personally in my job.
So I have a question. So I have an employee who's been working for our company for about 20, all his working career. So about 25 years or 20, 30 years, maybe. I can't even remember how, maybe. And he's gotten to a point where he feels we let him have a house to rent for free. And, he's basically become almost family. And there's been rumors that he's starting to spread that they can't fire me. And we know him personally. I mean, I've been to his kids' events. He's been to my event, my kids' events and stuff like that. So we have this, the thing is a brother from another mother relationship. However, how do you solve, because you want to have that deep relationship, but you don't want to go too far where they think that they're invulnerable now.
So is it they can't fire me so I can do whatever I want? Like I can just not work? Is his work ethic kind of gone down, thinking that it doesn't really matter anymore? Is that what the basis is? Or
no, he's a hard worker. I mean, there's not many people harder than him, but he just can't get along with anybody. And he knows he knows he could be a real jerk to people, and he's like, and he's okay with that. And it's like, and no, but all my managers don't want me to talk to him. So I'm like, okay. So I don't know what, I'm in a position where I'm like, what do you guys want me to do then? You guys are complaining about him, but you don't want me to talk to him. So I was like, I have a great relationship because it's more personal than it is professional. He does a job, but I don't have to work with him on a day-to-day basis.
I wonder if they don't want you to talk to him because they're embarrassed. Sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
No, you're fine. Is similar. Like, why do your managers want to talk to you about it if they don't want you to do something about it?
That's a really good question. I think sometimes they want to vent, but they don't really want to. I don't know. I've asked them, and they're like, "Well, no, we don't want." They want things done, but they don't. I don't know. It's like they get so mixed feelings. Sometimes maybe I'm just hearing they're just venting and they just want to vent, and they're like, "Do you want me to fix the problem?" Because sometimes they don't want the problem. They want to. Sometimes by venting, it fixes the problem itself, I guess. But I'm like, I'm almost at a point where, okay, if I hear it one more time, I will go talk to him because I can't handle this anymore.
So what are you going to do at this point, other than wait for someone else to talk up?
Well, at this point, it's like I'm respecting the manager's wishes for me not to talk to them. But it's like as soon as it's brought up again, I will probably enforce. But the real question is like, I'm going back to that whole, it's whatever you want to say, not intimate, but it's a stronger relationship than just, hey, you're my business associate. That's it. Business is business. How it sounds like from this article, business is not business anymore. You want to get personal. When the head manager says, "Hey, I've got cancer. It's stage 4. Basically, I'm going to be dead in about a year." Really opens up the emotions, I guess, and people start pouring out their emotions, and people will start showing vulnerability. But then on the flip side, do people say, "Oh, I've let out my emotions. Now you guys have to trust. I have to trust you that you won't do anything bad to me." I don't know if that's. It's like
it might be worth so if you have a personal relationship with this guy, it'd be pretty simple to sit down and talk to him and have just a general meeting of how are things going for him, how's his relationship with his coworkers, how's success on his productivity line or something like that. Where does he stand? And it doesn't have to be brought up that, hey, people are getting frustrated with you or anything. You just want to hear his end of the story and just say, hey, how is everybody getting along on your team? How's deals working out? Because maybe there's a chance where he has no idea, or maybe the flip side, he's like, man, so-and-so sucks. And maybe it's just the two that are going back and forth. And he's like, dude, this schmuck, all he does is talk trash about me behind my back, and he won't ever confront me about it. And so I don't know what the heck to do. So maybe there's a chance that you need to step in right there, but it might be worth trying to hear his side.
So you're saying just go ahead and just talk to them, not more as a professional, but more as a friend, and just ask them how things are going.
Yeah, just a casual conversation of how his work's going, and just say, it doesn't even have to be anything personal. I know my boss, we'll just be hanging out at lunch, and they'll just be like, hey, how are things going? How's the team? Great. And gives me a chance to talk about if anything's going on or how life is or whatnot.
The interesting thing is you can even use this class as a catalyst. You could be like, hey, I've got this class I'm going through at school. I'm learning all these skills that I feel like I'm needing to utilize at work. And so I wanted to come to talk to you. I realized I haven't talked to you in a while. You know what I mean?
Tell him he's your case study.
Oh, there you go. That's actually, I can say that. Would you be an experiment for me? There you go. No, actually, that's a good approach, Patrick. I might actually use that. It's not evasive. So
that's funny.
I think in that situation too, from the manager standpoint, if someone has an issue with another coworker, usually more often than not, with my experience, it's that person who has an issue with someone else that actually could change their attitude and mentality, and whatever's irritating them isn't actually anything that, and maybe this situation's different, but try and get, towards the gospel here, there's the Christ-like attributes, and if someone's having irritation or frustration towards someone else, that just means that they work a little more on having patience and those kind of attributes we need to work on. So that's just my 2 cents.
All right, thank you.
No, I think that's good, and maybe this next topic of discussion might even help with some of those questions, and that is, what do group norms have to do with effective team building? And I say that could be part of it, because sometimes the norms that you kind of help your teams or your groups initiate and kind of have really affects the way that things are going with them. So the question is, again, what do group norms have to do with effective team building?
I think they build trust. You talk about behavioral standards, different things like that. A norm should be that I can trust you guys to, say Patrick's doing A, Joe's doing B, and Skylar's doing C, and whatever the situation may be, I can trust that you guys will handle the situation and then we can put it all together. I think, to me, a big group norm is trust, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think along with that, not just trust to know that your group's going to get stuff done, but also a trust that, for example, a norm should be that if you have an idea or, some new thing that you've come up with, that the group won't scrutinize or make fun of that person, but rather hear what they have to say, and even if they don't agree with it, listen to it. I think that's a trust that has to happen. I mean, that kind of has to do with the whole, psychological safety in a team that we read about. But I think that's a normal part of it. We have to feel safe with our team. We have to feel safe with our group. I would need to feel safe that if I brought something forward to you guys right now, it would need to be a norm that you guys would listen and respect what I would have to say. If that wasn't a norm, then we wouldn't have an effective team, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think we've just seen that as Joe's come out with a question. He obviously feels okay asking it and feeling that we will give sufficient advice on the situation.
Yeah.
So it asks the question also. So we're talking about norms that are effective in team building, but then it also says, are they healthy group norms? So is it possible to have an unhealthy group norm that still creates an effective team?
I think it is.
I can't necessarily think of any.
I think maybe there could be a norm of, you have one person who leads every single meeting, who's a bit demanding of what everyone needs to do, and it's kind of at least if I'm understanding the definition of a group norm right, it's it's what is normal in the group. It's what happens every day. And I think you could have an effective team that is led by someone who's maybe even a little too outspoken, a little bit too aggressive with what needs to happen. But in the end, the team is effective because of it. Is it healthy? No. Are the individuals in that team going to be happy? I doubt it, but they could still be effective.
So you're saying in that instance it's unhealthy because the one person is generally always taking lead.
Yeah, and potentially demanding others, almost a dictatorship type of role, trying to get everyone else to do what they need to do, and that could eventually be effective because everyone gets everything done that they need to, but it's unhealthy.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Go ahead, bud.
No, I was just gonna say I totally agree. I think that's exactly what they're probably looking at.
Yes, I was kind of thinking about that, like along the same lines. Like you think about a coach in a sporting event, right? So you have all the players. We'll just say basketball. You have all the players that are on the court. They're playing, and say you're down by 10, and the coach is on the outside watching what's going on. He can see what the problems are, but he has to be the one to be demanding, to say, you got to do this or you're going to sit on the bench and I'm going to pull so-and-so back up. So it might be a little bit unhealthy because that coach is demanding and he has to exercise an authoritative role to the teammates. But when they win in the end and everybody starts to work together because it's like, hey, coach says you got to do this and this and this, and then we'll win. And so when they win, it becomes an effective leadership position.
Yeah, and that example might have a bit to do with the roles as well, kind of what we spoke about earlier. You got to know your roles in a team, and even though in your example, depending on how enthusiastic the coach is, how demanding he really is, the reason that it still could be effective is because everyone knows the role. Everyone knows the roles of the team, and the coach's role is to look at the overall picture and tell them what to do. And if they can respect that and understand that that's his role, then it could be potentially even a healthy norm because everyone is on board with that same idea. Everyone is on board with their own roles, and they're okay with the coach's role and the way that he's acting in it. So I think it might really be depending on the person. It really might be for some people it's a totally healthy norm. For others, they don't thrive in that kind of a norm. So
Mhm.
yeah, maybe healthy norms really are to the individual, not to the whole team. But if one individual doesn't like it, the whole team is a little bit less effective. It's the inception of norms.
I like it.
Well, does anyone have any other thoughts in regards to that question right there? To continue that, it says, what would you say your current B321 group norms include? So, with our group, is there any norms that we already have?
I think we're a little early to have any norms at this point.
That's actually what I said in our discussion board. I said we've met once, and I don't quite know what the norms are, but
I will let you know. I will be the supreme dictator, and I will take rule.
That's perfect. We also write my assignments.
Yes, according to how I want it to be written.
Joe will continue to use this platform as a way to improve his managerial style at his business.
Love
there
it.
You go.
No, I think we're doing. I think when it comes to the norms, you have to fill it out because, like you were saying, Skylar, one group may not work for another group. I know that, I believe that people say, "Oh, you can't have a dictator." No, sometimes you need someone who takes a very authoritative role to make things happen. But in the midst of it, that authoritative person needs to be humble at the same point, saying, "Okay, I need to bow out. I'm done. I've done what I needed to do. Now it's time for a true democracy to come into place because they're supposed to be there to inspire." But sometimes that might not work in the very general norm from the get-go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
That's why in the reading it's talked about how many studies they tried to do, how many statistics they tried to grab, and they couldn't find a pattern because it's so different depending on the group. But like they said, they found a couple things that were pretty similar across the board, and that was that overall there has to be, like we talked about, that psychological safety and that relationship within a group. But other than that, each group will be different based on the individuals inside, and they'll be effective or ineffective based on the individuals inside. Well, the next question is, what can you do as an individual to initiate effective team behavior?
I think first off, you need to have a personal reflection upon what you feel is the best thing, because I find too many people. I read this book once and it says, we should do it this way, and I'm going to do it this way. Books are meant to be a guide, not a rule. And you need to find your own personal development in helping yourself to be what you want to be.
So this question reminded me, so I have another group for another class, and it seems to be that nobody wants to step up and just say, "Okay, let's get this done. Let's work on this." Everybody just kind of stays behind and just says, "Oh yeah, whatever you want, that'll work." And so for me, what I had to do in that group is I had to start an email thread and say, "Okay, when can you meet? When can we do this? When can we do that?" And I wasn't being rude or anything like that, but somebody had to step up and just say, "Okay, we got stuff we got to get done, so we need to start prioritizing." And I think every once in a while in a group, it needs that. It needs maybe somebody to say, "Okay, hey, well, we just got off subject here. Hey, we got a lesson, we got a plan, so we need to meet. When can everybody meet?" And start putting stuff together. It doesn't always have to be the same person, but that's one thing in this other group that I felt like I just had to do so that we can start getting the group going on a regular schedule or regimen to get everybody focused.
I totally agree. You don't necessarily have to be the dictator, but someone has to take a little bit more initiative in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Well, even just like this class, each week we're taking turns being the discussion leader, And in all honesty, that's needed. You have to have someone to start things off, to lead it, and to, what's what I'm looking for? Just to lead a meeting, to lead anything you're doing. If you don't, it might not get done. So I think you're right. I think that's a good thing that one person can do to initiate and get everyone on the same page and organized. And then along with that, I think it's important that with any team that we're working with, that we be the ones who put forth that trust to begin with, that we share more about ourselves, that we ask how others are doing, and kind of make that a norm in the group. If you can do that, and if you can show that you're interested in their lives, and that that you can put your trust in them, then chances are they're gonna show that same trust and that same comfort.
Right. I think regards to the question of what I can do as an individual, to be honest, like, I hadn't checked my email in the last 3 days, and I came home like, man, we're probably needing to have a group meeting here soon. So I got home literally like when you guys are setting up the meeting and looked at my email. So individually, I could be better at making sure I pay attention to my emails with you guys.
No, that's an awesome one. For sure. Well, those are actually all the questions that we have. But does anyone have any other questions or any last minute comments that they wanted to bring up?
Joe could be an effective team person if he invited me to Disneyland.
Well, next time. How about that?
Yeah. Hey, real quick,
you're invited. You just have to find your way to get there and to have money for a hotel and all that stuff.
You're always welcome. I mean, it's not my place.
It's not the show.
Before we wrap up, is everybody? Does this time work for everybody? If we did like a Wednesday at 4:15, just every week.
Works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
So we'll just plan next Wednesday at 4:15.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And who's leading next week's meeting?
I am.
Okay, cool. Okay,
So,
perfect. Well, then we plan on meeting next week, and Keaton will send out an email with the link, probably just the few minutes before. I know that I was really bad at that. I didn't send it out beforehand, and because of that, it almost didn't work out.
Good.
But,
And then
but
Joe,
thanks so
will you
much,
post
everyone.
this one?
Yes. What's that?
Will you post this one?
Yeah, I'll post this. I'll send this out to everybody, and I'll post it so everybody has it, just in case something falters on my behalf. So
Wicked. Sounds good, guys.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for all of your time and participation in the meeting. And we'll talk to you guys next week, okay?
All right. Thanks, Scott, for leading it.
See you guys.
Take it easy. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.